pass-by reference in Apache NiFi. Here you can see a pass-by reference. An important aspect of flow-based programming is the idea of resource constraint relationships between the black boxes. In NiFi, these are queues and processors respectively. Flow files are routed from one processor to another through queues simply by passing a reference to the flow file, similar to the claim check pattern in EIP. In the web crawler flow here, in Invoke HTTP processor reaches out to the URL with an HTTP GET request and adds the status code attribute to the flow file depending on what the response was from the HTTP server. After updating the flow file's file name in the update attribute processor after invoke HTTP, there is a root on attribute processor that routes flow files with the successful status code attributes to different processors. Those that are unmatched are dropped by the root on attribute processor because it is configured to auto terminate any data that does not match any of the routing rules. Coming into the root on attribute processor, there is a flow file F1 that contains the status code attribute and points to the content C1. There is a provenance event that points to C1 and include a snapshot of F1 but is omitted to better focus on the routing. This information is located in the flow file content and provenance repos respectively. After the routing root on attribute processor examined the flow file status code attribute, it determines that should be routed to two different locations. First thing that happens is the processor clones the flow file to create F2. This copies all of the attributes and the pointer to the content. Since it is merely routing and analyzing the attributes, the content does not change. The flow files are then added to the respective connection queue to wait for the next processor to retrieve them for the provenance reported documents the change that occurred, which include the clone and two root events. Each of these events has a pointer to the relevant content and contains a copy of the respective flow files in the form of snapshot. Here you can see update update attributes. Process is connected with success, and success is connected to pass root on attribute. Root on attribute is interact with Q0 here Q, and this Q is connected to remove duplicate in detect duplicate process, and root on attributes interact with Q here, and Q is connected to log attribute here, and in before F1 is connected to F. Basically F1 is pointing to C1 in the flow file, and here in the content you can see C1, and in after update attributes interact with Q, and Q is connected to root on attribute here, and root on attribute interacts with Q, and Q is connected to detect duplicate here, and pass root on attributes interact with Q here, and Q is connected to log attributes, and here in the flow file repository F1 is pointing to C1, and F2 is pointing to the C1 here, and in the content repository you can see C1 here, and in provenance in clone P1 is pointing to F2, and in root P2 is pointing to F1, and in root P3 is pointing to F2. Now this is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for watching it.